there's a crew in town. The head hillbillies are making their rounds. Small town whispers loud and clear. The sheriff shot the judge in his chambers chair.
Sheriff got a secret he won't keep. Judge shot dead in his disbelief. A lot of people have some stories to tell. Dark pass away, get the sound of a shotgun shell.
All the secrets spill on down. Voices loud in this old town. From the courthouse to the ground. Rumors fly and they can't be bound.
Neighbors hide behind their blinds. Whisper tales of troubled minds. Skeletons covering the mountainside. A treacherous reality in the pines.
Winter reveals the hidden lies. Moonlight couldn't mask the cries. Shadows caught in sunlit skies. There's no cover, no disguise. All the secrets spill on down. Voices loud in this old town. From the courthouse to the ground. Rumors fly and they can't be
Winter reveals the hidden lie. Moonlight could mask their cries. Shadows caught in sunlit skies. There's no cover, no disguise.
all the secrets spill on down. Voices loud in this old town. From the courthouse to the ground. Rumors fly and they can't be bound.
All right. All right. Hello, everybody. Hello. Welcome to the channel. If you've not been here before, we are sure glad that you're here. Welcome aboard the Hillbilly train. My name is Elizabeth. Sweet Tater's in bed already again, so we'll have to go on without her again. But she'll be back when we get a little bit earlier on the schedule. We have baseball this evening, and we got a doubleheader tomorrow morning. So our lives have been a little bit later than normal. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Miss Janet. Let's get this party started. Please keep them coming. Absolutely. So we are going to finish the second part of Patty's deposition. Yeah, did you like my title? Patty cake, policeman. Make us some money just as fast as you can. Somebody left a comment and said I wasn't going to make it with my screechy voice. Here I am making it, honey. All right, yeah. So let's get on over here. We're going to finish up the rest of this. So I just want to give you all a little preview on another thing that I've been working on. So we found, I went and did that show the other night on MCHC and how we found out that it was a nonprofit organization and That's our medical clinic in Whitesburg. And it's, you know, it's helped a whole lot of people. It's a good place. We need it, of course. But I was not aware of more than one. I don't know how many in total, but I've seen a couple, 2 or 3. There have been lawsuits against, well, I don't know. They're not the only ones named, but there was a whistleblower lawsuit that was filed claiming fraud, claiming a prescription scheme. So what was happening, one of the pharmacy, I don't know if it was a pharmacist or someone in the pharmacy, but it was someone from the pharmacy. They were the whistleblower, and they came forward and was explaining how this scheme worked. So if someone came in and was paying cash, and I remember this, I remember just thinking about it. I remember back in the day when this was happening, and it wasn't no big secret. I'm sure it was on the billing side, but it wasn't a really big secret. I think everybody kind of knew that they were doing this, especially if you were a cash paying patient. And it wasn't just them. I think a lot of places did stuff like this back in the day. And it probably continues now, only it's probably better hidden at places that do it. But if you were a cash paying patient, you would get, say, a prescription for $23 of whatever it was, whatever the medicine is. They would get the prescription for like $23. But if they had insurance and they had Medicaid or whatever other insurance, I'm not sure, they'd charge them $110 for the same medication. And, that ain't right. That ain't right. But so we're going to read through those articles, and that's one thing that kind of separates us here on this channel is, we don't talk about the rumors and the gossip and all of that stuff. We are taking all of our knowledge, the majority of it, from newspaper articles, from documents that have been filed. We look at the facts, and then, there's other ways too to gain information. Usually, if I hear something just from one source, I won't mention it. I won't talk about it until I have some other form of corroborating, stuff. And if you've got more than one source saying the same thing that don't even know each other, that's another way that you can corroborate information. So, that's one of the things that we really try. Well, I say we, that I'm the only one that works on this stuff. But my diggers send me all kinds of things, and I rely heavily on them for finding documents, articles, stuff like that. So anyway, I just wanted to give you a little preview on what we're going to be looking at, because, how can there be such a history of fraud and inappropriate billing practices and stuff like that, and then and certain people be partly responsible, for creating the problem in this area? And then all of a sudden, when the money starts flowing the other direction, they all of a sudden revamp themselves as recovery saviors or something like that. It just doesn't make much sense to me. But some people forget. You let enough time go by and people forget the history. Anyway, okay, thank you, Miss Pippa Pearson, member for 1 month. Thank you. All right, for your super sticker. Bless you. All right, so we're going to pick this back up over here. And they took a break, and she says, I'm going to pass you another document. This is, as I understand it, is the same offender summary for Jennifer Hill. Similar what we looked at for Sabrina Adkins, correct? Right. I accidentally printed an extra page. I see 52. Okay. 4 of those are for battery. Yeah. One of them is motion, no GPS, strap, and unable to connect. AC power disconnected, and base unit untrusted, and bracelet strap. And that is the reason that she was arrested. For a bracelet strap? Yeah. Oh, okay. So this one is so this is Patty talking on the A. Can you all see that? Yeah. Okay. So that's Patty with the A. The Q, the question. So that would be Miss Baxter. All right. One of them is motion, no GPS. Okay, I read that. For a bracelet strap? Yeah. She also unplugged the unit. This is the one that you plugged into. What does bracelet strap mean? She cut it. Do you think that Jennifer Hill cut her bracelet strap? This could have been. What was she charged with? I don't remember. This could have been when she was taken off house arrest. What do you mean by this could have been? The bracelet strap, because when you cut it off, it will show. So let me see what the date was on that. And then Mr. Jones. I hate to jump in and point something out, but these are 2 different time periods. Miss Baxter, I think both of the 2 time periods are represented on both documents. First 2 pages and last 2 pages of that one show different time periods. And this one shows 2020, and then it jumps to 21. Well, this one would explain the bond form. One of them would, right? Okay. The first one, she probably just hit it on something from what I can gather. And then second, she cut. Tell me what you are looking at when you say the first one. Page 2 of 4. It says 1-piece GPS strap. And then her base unit was untrusted and stuff. So she may have just hit it on something there. But Ben would have checked that. Just so that I am clear, that is the timestamp 9/2/21 at 1:11 p.m. Right? Sometimes with those, you can just be in the bed and hit it, and it would show that. And then on 10/21, either that is when she went off or she cut the band or strap. She cut it. Okay. So I guess from what is documented on this Jennifer Hill offender violation summary, which one of these would have been reported to the Court of Violations? Untrusted, never. Curfew would have been reported. That curfew would not have been reported. It was just 14 minutes. Untrusted, never. Curfew would have been reported. That curfew would not have been reported. It was just 14 minutes. Okay. What is the policy if it is less than a certain period of time that it doesn't get reported? Right? The judge won't do anything if they are just like 15 minutes or 14 minutes or something. Now, if I get something that says 25 or 30 minutes, I report it, or any time after that. I would say 30 minutes. Okay, so if it is more than 30 minutes, you usually report it, right? How do you know that the judge wouldn't consider it a violation? Because I've done it before and they won't do anything about it. Well, it is just a few minutes and they didn't go far, you know. Are you basing that experience on either Judge Mullins or Judge Kraft specifically? Yes. Do you remember who those persons were that you would have reported 10, 15 violation that they wouldn't do anything? Do you remember the names of any person? No, I don't recall, but I know that I have mentioned it to judges before, and you know, for 10 minutes, they are not going to put them back in jail for 10 minutes. But you never spoke to either Judge Mullins or Judge Kraft about any of Jennifer Hill's or Sabrina Adkins's violations. Is that correct? I did not speak with them personally. I was in the hallway with Ben, or I think it was. I don't know who I was in the hallway with, but anyway, Judge Kraft was there, and he said that he did give permission for her to go, for Sabrina to go to stay with her ex-husband and son. My question to you is, what of these would have been violations reported to the court? And you pointed out the strap. Anything else? Yes, she unplugged her unit. Well, when was that? There are several here. Based unit AC power disconnected on 8/31. 8/31? Uh-huh. And that is an area where... let me put her up. Sorry, y'all. Come on. Oh. Okay. And that is an area where you would have sent a screenshot. Sometimes that could be where power went off too. So it could have been either one of those. So you are not sure whether that would have been reported or not? No, but it could have been. It could have been. Usually if that happened, I would call and they would let me know the power is off, you know. They being the offender. Okay. Anything else here that would have been reported to the court? I would have reported it to Ben, not necessarily the court, because Ben took care of that. You would have sent him a copy of the computer printout screenshot? Yes. This wouldn't have been like a GPS or anything. It would have just been showing, you know, the strap. It would have been a copy of this document or some other document? Yes. Let's make that an exhibit. Do you recall a name called blank? I'm sorry, blank. Does that name ring a bell to you? She was on home incarceration. Are you aware she is also one of the victims identified that led to the criminal charges of Ben Fields? I thought maybe, but I wasn't for sure. Why did you think maybe? Because when I was over there with the investigators, she was there talking to someone too. And I thought maybe that was the reason. So you knew her well enough to recognize her? Yeah. By her face? Now, I didn't recognize her. I just know that someone said blank. They called her back there. Where were you when you talked to Matt Easter? Letcher County Sheriff's Office. Interesting. So you drove down there to meet with Mr. Easter? Yes. Do you guys remember that in the audios of the interviews? Do any of you guys remember Matt Easter interviewing Patty at the sheriff's office? Because that's not ringing a bell with me. That's not ringing a bell. But we'll have to go back in there and look at those documents and see. All right. Did you meet with anybody else besides Mr. Easter? Mickey. Was Mickey also in the room when you spoke to Mr. Easter? Yes. So he didn't even interview them separately? Now, I love Gavin, y'all. I love Gavin. He's my favorite. I love him. But did y'all hear him on that interview that we did, or the show we did the other night? He said he thought that Matt Easter did a wonderful investigation. And we just have to agree to disagree on that. No way should he have spoke to her in front of Mickey, in my opinion. But what do I know? Was Mr. Stines also answering questions? He had already talked to him. Okay. Did you get to sit in during? No. Why did he get to sit in during your questioning? Well, I don't know. But when I got there, they were over at the courthouse talking to someone, and I had to wait. Who was they? The investigator, and Mickey was talking to the judge over there. Which judge? I don't know. Okay, I would assume Kraft, but that is just a guess. Okay. Well, are you aware that Blank was also given what she called a dummy bracelet, an inactivated bracelet? You only ever get one bracelet back from the AG's office, correct? You only ever got. Yeah. Were there unaccounted or ankle monitors that just you never got back? No. Blank had a lot of violations. Do you remember that? I know that she had some, but Ben always told me that she had reasons to be out. Did Ben give you as many reasons for violations for male offenders as he did for these female offenders? No. Duh. There are more excuses coming from these women, from Ben. It was these. So these three persons stood out to you. And you didn't even think to check the court records or follow up on any of that? No, because I trusted him. So this is the same offender violation summary for Blank. It is a little thicker than the other two. And if you look to the back page, it is because she was on the old system for a while. On the back, it shows 219 violations. I don't recall that many. All of those are not what you call violations. Base unit, untrusted, 80. Okay. So what does that mean? Remember, when I told you the monitor she was on the old system and it shows untrusted, you can walk across the room and if it vibrates, it will show it. I mean, it is not the best system, but it was the best at the time, the best system that they had. Okay, one piece unable to connect, 31. That is not really a violation. Okay, power disconnected. So most of those of the 219 there is not that many that is really, okay. There is one motion GPS in motion, no GPS, that could be anywhere. Then you had 2 batteries, which they were low, so that number really looks bad, but it is not. Okay, tell me this. Of all of these 219 violations, you are saying some are worse than others? No, it is not 219 violations, is what I'm saying. Okay, let me ask my question. Base unit untrusted is not a violation. It is just showing me that it has been moved or somebody has walked by and jarred it. Anything can happen with that. A child jumping on the floor. They were very sensitive. Okay, let me ask the question, and I think it will address some of your concerns. Okay, so there is 8 curfew violations. I'm sorry. Of these 219 documented potential violations, how many of these would have needed to call Ben Fields or blank to confirm this was not in actuality a violation? I wouldn't have to call him on any of them, especially that 80. Okay, I would have called on the 8 violations. Okay, so the 8 being curfew. The 8 is the violations that she had. She didn't have 219. Well, I am just reading what is here. I know, but you don't, So a curfew violation is something that you would call Ben and follow up about? Yes. Anything else on this list? Let me double check. I don't want to say something that wasn't true. That was the last one, right? Yeah. Hold on a second. I would have called her on the power of being disconnected because that could have been, I don't recall. Okay. The GPS unable to connect, 31. You know what that is? It just didn't have a signal. The strap I would have called on, and Ben would have checked on that strap. I got 9 straps, and we got 3 power disconnects, and we got 8 curfews. Right. Okay. Do you recall having any of those conversations you had Ben about straps, power disconnect, and curfews? Yes. Anytime it showed strap, I contacted Ben. Do you remember talking to Ben about straps related to blank? No, I do not recall. Do you have any documentation that would help you beyond this document? Any text messages or emails? Nope. So you have no recollections of these strap violation, correct? That's right. What about the power disconnect or the curfew violations? Do you remember talking to Ben Fields about any? I wouldn't have called him about that. I would have called Jennifer. And I don't recall, but I know when that I did show that I always called. Who is Jennifer, Mr. Jones? We are on the wrong one. I'm sorry. Do you remember talking to Brianna about any of these curfews or power disconnect issues? I don't remember. Do you remember having any conversations with blank? Nope. Do you recall Ben Fields telling you that blank had been taken off home incarceration? I don't recall it. Nope. Do you have any other documents related to blank in your office of any of these contracts or application forms? Nope. I checked everything. You checked for blank also? I did. Did you produce any records to the Attorney General's office? Yes. Do you recall what you gave them? Nope. Did you keep a copy of it? Nope. I just gave it to them. Well, that was real smart. How long would you say that you spoke to Matt Easter with the AG's office? Not this long. Of course she didn't. We have been here about 3 hours, 3 to 4 hours. Was it less than an hour that you spoke to him? Probably around an hour. And Mickey Stines was with you throughout that conversation, correct? He was. Yes, we were in his office. Great job, AG's office. Y'all knocked that investigation out of the park. Do you know how any of the other deputy sheriffs? Have you met any of them? Nope. In Letcher County? Nope. Okay. We have a recording that I believe to be blank. And on that recording, she says that Ben Fields said that she didn't have to worry about paying her ankle monitor charges. She would tell him when she was going places, but he didn't care. And she also acknowledged that she was a rug addict at that time. And I believe those statements were attributed to her. Were you aware of any of that? Nope. She also made a statement about you wanting to revoke her home incarceration at one point, and that you gave Ben Fields an order to revoke her home incarceration, but Ben wouldn't do it. Does that ring a bell for you? Nope. She says after that point, after conversation, Ben put this sort of dummy bracelet on her, and I believe notified you that she had been taken off home incarceration through the court system. Were you aware of that, or did you know anything about that? Nope. If I had been aware, no, he would have been gone. So you don't have any recollection of telling Ben Fields to revoke blank's home incarceration. If she violated, which is this, the blank, let me see blank again. This is blank. If she cut that strap, yes, I would have told him to check the strap. And if it had been cut, arrest her. I don't recall that, but I would have, you know. So she had the power to say, arrest her. Shouldn't that have been the judge that says, arrest her? That don't make no sense to me. I mean, it seems to me like all of these people had way too much discretion. They had way too much authority, way too much power, and not enough common sense. You know, like you would have thought she would have protected herself and her company. You don't just trust anybody. It's usually the person that you trust the most that sticks it in the deepest when your back is turned. And especially when it comes to your money, your livelihood, your business. It just looks a whole lot to me like they did the least amount of work that was possible. They did the least amount of, because the more rules and the more guidelines and the more policies you have, the more that they have to actually do something when people break them. And we see with Mickey and the police department, the sheriff's department, none of them people ever got in trouble. I mean, you couldn't get fired from down there. I mean, do any of you all know anybody that's actually been fired from there that wasn't a woman? Because I don't know of any. I mean, my gosh. And y'all even heard Gavin say the other night on that show, the way that I have described these text messages and the group chats and all that was accurate. It's extremely to the extreme. It ain't just locker room banter. It ain't just teasing one another. This was X-rated all the way through it. One right after the other, right after the other, right after the other. And I also got another little tidbit of information too. Apparently, and there's no real way to be able to confirm this. So this is not a confirmed bit of information. So you can take it with a grain of salt if you want to. But from what I have found out or been told through a source, the plan originally was for Ben to step in to be appointed sheriff after Mickey left. And if we think about it, look at how Ben kind of rose through those ranks, and went from the jail, court security. I don't think he wasn't ever like a deputy, like a road deputy or anything. But if that's true, I could see it being true, though. I could see it. His sister was over drug court and still is, from as far as I know. His mommy was supposed to have held some big state office. I didn't know if him or his daddy were the magistrates. I think I thought it was his dad, but somebody said it was him. So I don't know. So they held very key positions. Their family was very connected. His uncle was Bill Meade, the fire chief, who got in big trouble. Let me let my dog in. And that would also explain the meeting that we found out about. I don't know if it was, I'm sure it probably wasn't just one. But the meeting or the meetings that were taking place before Mickey gave his deposition, to put Jones in there. And I've said it before, I don't have anything against him. I just was very disappointed that they chose somebody from inside of that sheriff's department. Why didn't they choose somebody outside of that? Because, it wasn't just, 1, 2, 3. I mean, we've got several people in these chats. We've got several people in these group chats that are still working as police officers and court security officers down there in Whitesburg, even after all of this has come out of their own behavior on the job. Makes me sick. All right, let's see. Oh, so that's where we're at. Patty's going to say arrest her. So would you have been directing Ben Fields to arrest her? Oh, Great minds think alike. Because he had that authority as the deputy sheriff? No, I would send this to him and he would show it to the judge and arrest her or get a warrant, put it that way. Last time that blank was on home incarceration, I think she was on and off a few different times. Let me see what the dates are. On the most recent time, according to your records, would have been ending in sorry, it's my young'un. I'm on a show. What do you want? Hey. Well, he hung up on me. Oh, he wants me to pick him up. I knew it. Well, he's going to have to wait. All right. Let me tell him. Okay. I'll come after the show. Sorry, y'all. Motherhood never stops. Well, Jessica, sounds like someone may have been telling people they were on ankle monitor and they were not. Okay, so this is something else I found out. Even in drug court. Now, downstairs in Mullins's court, we're looking at the house arrest and they go to rehab. But it was through the Senate 90 bill. Like, they didn't have drug court in Mullins's courtroom. Drug court was upstairs in Kraft's courtroom. And tell Gregory to come let this cat out. Come let the cat out the door. Oh, yeah. And my girlfriend was in drug court. One of my very, very, very good friends. She went to drug court and she was sentenced. Well, here, I'm going to read it word for word what she says about it. So that way I don't misspeak on what she went through. And then I got to thinking about the money, just how much money is going through all these places for these drug court programs. It's not just Mullins's court, y'all. It ain't just Mullins's court. So she was supposed to be on drug court for like 2 years. And she ended up serving 4 years on drug court? Are you joking? Let's see. So it'll be right here. Okay. So you've got all of these state and elected, state, county, whatever. You've got all these elected people that are putting these programs together, first of all. So you've got the upstairs court that's over drug court, and then you've got Mullins's court downstairs that was over the Senate Bill 90. They're both getting big money. 4 years she was kept in drug court. And she only dropped one dirty pee test the whole time. I don't know how much money they get per participant. But from what we've been able to kind of gather, they get so much money per participant plus incentives. Let's see. One dirty P test. Putting her in jail for no reason. Started her time back over and over and over again, she said. Oh, no. She said she never dropped one dirty urine. So she didn't have just one dirty urine. She said she never dropped one dirty urine. That's why he let me off probation early, I think, because he knew he was doing me wrong in drug court. It's only a 2-year program. I was in from March 2018 to March 2022. And then they let her off probation in November 22. That ain't right, you guys. It's a 2-year program and you're holding people in there for 4 years. Where's all that money coming from? And that's just one person. That's just one person. Who's looking over this stuff? That's right, Bugman. That's how they trap you in the system. If you're poor, you're stuck. Because who's your lawyer? Who's your lawyer? Matt Butler? Well, they just appointed him Commonwealth attorney, so you ain't going to get him as your defense attorney. Who's your other choices? Daniel Dotson? Who else? Ashley Sturgill? Who else? And if you've got a case, or if you are trying to find an attorney to defend you against something that that somebody in that system is doing against you, well, good luck. Good luck. First of all, good luck finding an attorney that will actually take your case. And if you do find one that'll take your money, you better make sure they're actually doing the work that they should be doing on your behalf. Because in my experience, and what it looks like to me, is that they all play footsie under the table. And it don't matter. They'll take you. Heck yeah, they'll take every penny you'll give them. Makes me so mad. They take advantage of the poorest and the most vulnerable. So you've got these women that get trapped in this never-ending cycle and system. So they get arrested. Then they're either held in jail under somebody like Angie, or if they turn you loose on house arrest, then you're under somebody like Ben, her husband. Or you're in drug court, so you're under Ben's sister. Or you're in rehab under Michael Clark. And if you mess up in any of them, they've got you. They've got you. Because, and it was making me think of it when we were reading this, the 219 violations is what it shows on the paper. But Patty's sitting there arguing, saying that they're not all violations. Well, what if they wanted it to be a violation? You know, Ben was swearing out false warrants, false escape warrants. What if they wanted it to say or at least make somebody think that that's actually 219 violations, because that's what it says on the paper. It's what this law, Miss Baxter says. I'm just reading what's here. Thank you, Cat Ride. Where's the accountability? There's none. Absolutely none. Jessica, I think I'll just try to steer clear of a life of crime. Well, Mommy told me today she had went downtown somewhere, and she'd worked with these people for 40 years down there at that college. And I won't say no names, but a couple of them were snubbing her. She said she could tell it was because of the show. Well, they're related to certain ones, and that's okay. We have to have good police officers. But I'm sorry. The way that it is here, they've all been intermingled and commingled so much. They go from one agency or department to the next, one to the next, and they all just kind of go back and forth between this department and this one over here and this one over here. And they've all been trained by the same people. So if they've been a police officer for the last 10 or 15 years, they've been trained by their superiors. And this is what we're talking about. It's a culture that permeates through the entire thing. When you've got a bag of apples and you've got an apple in there that's went bad, what's it do? It turns all the rest of them bad. And all it has to do is just touch it. All it has to do is touch the others. And then they all end up rotting. That's what happens. Evil spreads. You don't have, it's not like Mickey was this angel saint that was the one that didn't do anything. No, I don't believe that for a second. I don't believe that for a second. But even if he was more of a maybe he was, I don't know how he was involved. I don't know if he was involved. I don't know anything. But I do know that you can't work that closely with that many snakes and not get bit. You're going to get bit. And Mickey got bit. Mickey got bit by the snakes. They just think that they're above the law. They all do. And they're so much better than everybody else because they got a badge on their shirt. Question. The last time that blank was on home incarceration, I think she was on and off a few different times. Let me see what the dates are on the most recent time according to your records. Would have been ending in August 21, beginning in, there was a lot of violation throughout July. It looks like she was put on home incarceration. I am looking at the bottom of page 7 on this document. It is a little annoying because the Bates stamp is over top of some of the records. But if she put back on and connected back up on July 7th, 21, and that she was on it through August 5th, 21, do you see that? Yes. There was some reference to the court having put blank back on or authorized her to be back on home incarceration, and that you said it was okay. But Ben said he wouldn't put her back on home incarceration. I don't recall that. You don't recall that. Okay. Ms. Baxter, let's mark that as the next exhibit. Okay, I have got some more records. I think I redacted everything. Social security numbers and addresses. But if anybody sees something that I missed, speak up. I just wanted to confirm EKCS paid Ben Fields $23,165 in 2020. Does that look accurate? I'm sure it was. I don't see it anywhere. It is up at the top. I am blind. That is a heck of a lot more. I was noticing that EKCS paid Jack Minyard, who I understood to be the home incarceration down in Harlan. What? You testified earlier, and he was he trained people. You testified earlier that everyone was paid under the same formula. So why did Jack earn so much less than Fields in 2020? Because Jack had just had one or two people on home incarceration. Why were there so many more people on home incarceration in Letcher County as compared to Harlan County? You will have to ask the judge that. I have no idea. That's why. And then it looks like in 2021, Eastern Kentucky Correctional Solutions paid Ben Fields $34,782. Do you see that? Wow, 34 and what was it? 23 and 34. He made $11,000 more the following year. I was just noticing again that Jack Minyard, he only got $2,059 that year. Do you see that? Yes. Was that during COVID? I guess 21 would have been in part. But there was as much COVID in Letcher as there was in Harlan, right? In Letcher County during COVID was the best year I ever had. You mean that was the most profitable year for EKCS? Uh-huh. So why do you think that is? Do you think the judges in Letcher County let everybody out on home incarceration? I don't know, but the jails were overcrowded and people in the jail had COVID and stuff. And I guess I'm just guessing, okay? Sure. I have no idea. I just know that was the reason his pay was so much more that year. And you didn't think to investigate and see why? Of course not, because you lining your pockets with all that money. Okay, so as compared to previous years, are you saying that you think that Ben Fields in 2021 made more money as an EKCS independent contractor than any independent contractor had ever made from EKCS in any year prior? Yes. Oh, man. Oh, that's very, very just, I don't know, negligent? Is it negligence? Is that what you guys would say? Or greed? Yeah, investigate what? Why would anyone do that? Why would we want to see if anything bad was happening? We was making money. Okay. Would Ben Fields pay on a monthly basis? Yes. Okay, and when EKCS would pay him, would you show your math, so to speak? I know you said that he didn't submit an invoice. So did you say this many hookups and this many folks on home incarceration equals this figure? I used to write everything down, how many days each person and everything. And I quit doing that when I got breast cancer. It was just too hard. And Mickey said, Patty, I know you don't like change, but let me just put down on each receipt how much I made that time. So I would just add the receipts up over at the side, because if they were on for 1 week, he made $21. If he hooked one up for that week, he made $46. A DN, he would put it over there and I would just add it up. He said that makes it easier on both of us. We have a receipt showing, and that way, he said it was just silly typing all that up. Just silly. Man. Did Ben Fields do that also? Yes, I found out it was easier. Mickey knew what he was talking about. Miss Baxter, I don't really need to make this an exhibit. I have one more thing that I want to ask you about. And I just came across this in the records that we got from the Attorney General's office. It looks like a communication between you and Ben Fields on Facebook Messenger, I guess. As I understand it and read it, it is you sending him a photo, which is the photo that is the last page. I'm just really curious if you recall this communication and why you would have been communicating via Facebook Messenger in this instance. Who were we talking about here? Danette Conley. Is that a man or a woman? Or a woman or a man? I think it is a woman, because we got a hold of her attendee records and we only asked for female folks. So I think it is a woman, but I was kind of curious myself. Oh, I see why. There is a violation there. Okay. So is this an example of what you would have sent to Mr. Fields in a situation where someone violated home incarceration? Sometimes they would want to know exactly where they were. Who is they? So I would send this. Mickey would sometimes want to know where so-and-so is at a certain, and if he had a warrant for them or something, I could show them exactly where they were. So are you saying this might not necessarily been a situation where Danette Conley had violated? No, she violated. Okay, let me finish my question. There is no reason for me to send it to him. Well, you are not sending it to Mickey Stines. You're sending it to Ben Fields. That is what I mean, to Ben. Sorry, I get them mixed up. That is okay. That is what I was trying to figure out. Were you trying to send it to Ben in his capacity as a deputy sheriff to find this person to arrest them? I was probably just sending it to show that he violated and where he was. Okay, so if you were sending it to Ben Fields to show that this person had violated some incarceration and where they were, what did you expect him to do with this information? Show the judge and see if he wants a warrant taken. Okay. Do you remember following up with Ben Fields to figure out if he ever showed this to a judge? I don't recall. Okay. Is this the same kind of information that you would have sent to Ben Fields via text? Could have been. Okay. I'm just curious as to why you used Facebook in this instance. Do you recall? No. Do you use Facebook a lot? No. Did you talk to Ben Fields aside from this instance? Talking to Ben Fields about home incarceration matters via Facebook? I don't recall. Ms. Baxter, let's make this an exhibit. Okay. So I think that you testified a little bit previously about the first thing that you heard about any of these allegations was Ben Fields himself called you, said he had been accused of having flirted with someone. Did he tell you why he was calling you up to tell you that? Did he tell you that it was being investigated? No. He just called you and said, someone has accused me of flirting with them? Yes. Did he give you a name? Nope. Did you ask for a name? Nope. Did you understand him to be referring to someone that was on home incarceration? I don't recall if I did or not, because at that time, Mickey beeped in and I went to get his call. So you hung up abruptly with your call with Ben Fields? Uh-huh. Did you think that Mickey Stines was calling you to talk about the same issue? I didn't know about the issue. I just knew about that he said that somebody accused him of flirting with him. That is no big deal. Do you remember what time of day it was? It was in the evening, after supper time? Yes. Okay. Anything else that you can remember that Ben Fields told you on that call? Nope. What about Mickey Stines? What did he tell you once you got on the phone with him? Mickey Stines said, Patty, have you heard from Ben? And I said, yes. He said, he had been flirting, or someone accused him of flirting with somebody. He said, Patty, I've got the suit. It is bad. I said, okay. And I hung up. I called him back and told him that I had to let him go. So did you ask for a copy of the suit? No. Did you ask for any more information aside from it is bad? Nope. I don't believe that. How many of you all get calls from your friends, your girlfriends, and they say, oh gosh, it's bad or something? Well, I want to know all of it. I'm not just going to say, okay, bye, I got to go. This just doesn't ring true to me. Okay. So then you called Ben Fields back and you said what? You will not be contracting for me anymore for Eastern Kentucky Corrections. Did you ask for any more details about why it was bad? Nope. See, that just doesn't make sense, does it? It don't. Man. She had no idea. Yep, butterfly kisses. Let me go see that. Let me put you up there, honey. This Patty had no idea how to run this ankle monitoring business. She just collected the money. That's right. What did I say? Looks like they did the least amount of work, the least amount of responsibility, the least amount of accountability, the least amount of policies, the least amount of procedure. Just let Ben run it however he wants. And I'll be the, it's like they each had their little role. And he made her more money than she had ever made before in 1 year. So she liked that. It wasn't just him making more money that year. She's made a whole lot of money that year. I hope it tells us how much she made altogether. And I've heard that ARC had a whole bunch of meetings and stuff out of the country. We've been we've been digging hard and digging deep on this story, y'all. And if they were going out of the country on these trips, all of the big head dudes, if they were doing that, you know what that explains? that explains Michael Clark's statement when he got his pardon from the governor. Now I can go out of the country. I mean, wouldn't that be something? And that was Governor Bevan at that time, who's a big, at every time a new governor comes in, they kind of just take the last one's place in the SOAR organization, that big nonprofit. And you've got ARC, who rose through, the social ranks over there. They're all buddies. You've got Hill, who kind of spawned from ARC and SOAR together. This is a big web of ugliness. Oh, I know I'm on to something, Miss Denise. I've been saying this, screaming it from the rooftops for years. Just nobody ever wanted to hear it. Nobody wanted to hear it. Terry, the ankle monitor program is like a vendor putting coffee machines in gas stations. It's to make extra cash money. Yep. And they ended up building an entire local economy on rehab, on addiction. And the problems that the people of this area have struggled and suffered with. All that money, all of that, the millions and the billions of dollars that are coming for opioid treatment. We had such a bad problem, and they pushed and they pushed and they pushed. And, none of these doctors wanted to prescribe Suboxone. Van Breeding and them down there, in my opinion, the only reason that they started the MAC clinic was because if they didn't offer it, they weren't eligible for that money. These clinics, these doctors, doctors' offices, I guess, what you call it, clinics, they had to offer medically assisted treatment. They had to. Abstinence was not going to cut it no more. Abstinence was not good enough. They had to offer MAT. They didn't want to. They did not want to. They didn't want to get the certification that they had to get to prescribe it. They didn't want to prescribe it. And when they were forced to, they came out and said, this is only going to be a temporary thing. We're going to get them on. We're going to start weaning them off at 3 to 6 months with a goal of having them completely off of it within 1 year. That was laughable. That was laughable. I was like, you're on a freaking spaceship if you think that's how it's going to work. I am the doctor. I am the famous breeding. I know everything. And now, look who's getting all that money. Look where all that money's going, y'all. All the opioid settlement money that came into these towns, who's getting that money? How many of these people that are in treatment, regardless of what kind of treatment it is, all of these people who are in treatment, who has benefited from that money in any way, shape, or form? Your medicine's already, that's a completely different thing. Your insurance pays for that medicine. Or you pay for it, whatever. But that opioid settlement money ain't paying for it. all of those millions and billions of dollars ain't going to pay for the doctor visit or for the medicine. So where's that money going? Why, so they can go train the cops? What are you training them for? They already know how to use Narcan. We're 30 years into the opioid crisis. You ain't going to be training them to do nothing. Yeah, she is snoring. She's always snoring, y'all. She's old as the hills. It ain't going to be much longer. I don't want to make that decision. Ugh. Anyway. Did you ask for any more details about why it was bad? No. Did you send Ben anything in writing terminating him or giving reasons for his termination? No. Did you speak to Mickey Stines again about that prior to meeting with Matt Easter? Nope. I don't believe that. I don't believe any of this now. That's just too unbelievable. So you didn't even talk to Mickey again after that to find out why? Okay. Do you recall how long it was after you got those two phones? How long after that was it that you met with Matt Easter? I don't. But prior to meeting with Matt Easter, you went down to Letcher County and you got those documents and equipment from Ben Fields, correct? Yes. And where did you meet him to obtain that stuff? In the hallway of the courtroom. In the hallway of the courtroom. So in the courthouse? In the courthouse. I'm sorry. I'm tired. I understand. We can take a little break. That's okay. What did Ben tell you at that point? Nothing. He just reached me the equipment. And because I was collecting too that day, I was seeing people once a week. So I didn't have a chance to talk to him anyway. He just gave me the stuff and left. So was that a Wednesday then? Yes. So that would have been a Wednesday. Did you see Mickey Stines in Whitesburg that day? Nope. Okay. Did you talk to anybody else at the courthouse aside from these folks on home incarceration? About what? About anything? About these allegations? No. When did you come to find out that it was one person and later more persons that are on home incarceration who had made these allegations about Ben Fields? When I was served with it. You didn't know before that? Nope. You didn't see any of the newspaper articles? Well, I did see that. Okay. I'm talking about proof, Well, newspaper articles identified it was women on home incarceration under Ben Fields who made these allegations, correct? Yes. And after you learned that through these newspaper articles, did you reach out to any of the women on home incarceration in Letcher County and ask them if they had any similar experiences? No. And neither did Matt Easter. Neither did Mickey Stines. Doesn't look like Judge Kraft did either. And we sure know that Judge Mullins didn't do it. And I ain't heard nothing about Ben's sister asking. So you'd think that somebody, someone, somewhere would have been concerned about that. But it doesn't seem like anybody, not one person, went through the women that were on home incarceration and even asked them. I would think that would be one of the very first things that I would do if I was investigating something like that. That was one of my very first thoughts when this case all kind of came out. Why aren't they asking all these women? Because if they ask the question, they might just get the answer that they don't want. Was the next conversation that you had about these allegations the conversation with Matt Easter and Mickey Stines in the Letcher County Sheriff's Office? Yes. All of them in there together. I guess in the interim period, were you yourself doing the job that Ben Fields used to be doing in Letcher County? Yes, until that I hired someone over there. Did you hire Alana Hensley before you met with Matt Easter or after? I don't recall. Do you recall how long it was that you yourself was performing those services? I would say about 3 weeks, maybe. And then you hired Alana Hensley? Uh-huh. Did Alana Hensley tell you anything about what she had heard about Ben Fields? No, she just said she was really surprised. She didn't tell you that she had heard a rumor that Ben Fields had been hooking up with someone on home incarceration? Nope. Once Miss Hensley started working for EKCS, did she ever notify you that anybody else had reported to her having similar issues with Ben Fields? Nope. Any issues whatsoever related to Ben Fields reported to you through Alana Hensley? Nope. I think you said earlier that Alana Hensley was recommended to you by Judge Mullins? Yes. When did you have that conversation with Judge Mullins? I don't recall, but it was one day when I was there putting people on house arrest, and I had finished, and I was in the courtroom. Okay, what were you doing in the courtroom? That is where that I met them when he didn't have court. That is when they came in to pay. Okay, I guess he came into the courtroom? Yes. Not on the record, but come to talk to you? Right. What did he say? I told him that I was looking for somebody because it was too hard of a trip for me to drive from South Shore to Letcher County once a week. And he said, I have got someone in mind, and said she would really be good. And she works in the jail. Uh-oh. And as a matter of fact, she just came up and I talked to her. And later on, came back. Had she been back in the judge's chambers, or had she just happened to come through the front door? No, she was at work, and she just got off work from the jail and came upstairs. And did you, Judge Mullins, and Miss Hensley all speak together for a while? Do you mean while I was there? Yes, part of that conversation about her maybe working for you and Judge Mullins, recommending her. You all three were a part of a conversation? Yes. What else do you recall of that conversation? He was just telling me, she would be a good person to work for me. Okay. And did she receive what kind of training did she receive? I trained her. I think that you said previously the other independent contractors you had worked as home incarceration officers, they didn't do any of the online training through the software. Only you did that training, correct? Right. So is that also true for Miss Hensley? Yes. think that you said that she didn't stay on very long because she didn't want to form an LLC or be paid through an LLC. She didn't want to be paid through an LLC. I wonder why. I wonder why she quit a job, an easy job, easy money, but she didn't want to be paid through an LLC. That's very interesting, and I'm very curious to know why. Okay, how did you come to hire the individual who's working there now? There is no one working there now. I don't have Letcher County. Marty Holbrook, he was there, yes. After Alana quit, I met his wife at the jail, and she said she was interested, or he was interested. Did you know that when Ben Fields was working as an independent contractor, his wife, she would often collect money on his behalf and make deposits and help with ankle monitoring? You knew her also? No, I was not aware of that. You did not know that she would help with those duties? No. So you never saw the receipts that she wrote out and put her name on to give people? Didn't she just say that she counted all the money up from the receipts? So wouldn't she see the handwriting and all that on those receipts? Sure wasn't Ben's handwriting. It was a girl's handwriting. Did you say that you are not working in Letcher County anymore? No. Do you know who is doing home incarceration in Letcher County? Well, they started for a bid, and he lowered the bid, and it is Task Incorporated, T-A-S-K, and it is Brian Daniels. Okay, that is the same individual you mentioned earlier, right? Yep. What are you talking about, bids? Well, a lot of times the fiscal court will pay for individuals who can't afford home incarceration. The fiscal court will pay for individuals who can't afford home incarceration. And always before, well, after this happened, they wanted to bid, and his bid was lower than mine. There enters our Letcher County Fiscal Court and Terry Adams, you guys. I thought, and remember, that's who appointed Deputy Jones, who was a deputy under Mickey in Mickey's Sheriff's Department, who's now been appointed as sheriff. I thought you were saying earlier he was way more expensive up in Pike County. He is for individuals, but he lowered it to $8 per day for the fiscal court. So the fiscal court gets it a lot cheaper, but the individuals who pay have to pay more. Of course. There's you another little, there you go. There you go. That kind of shows us how that's done. Wow. Wow. So we're going to lower it to get the bid, but we're going to raise our prices for the people. So who is getting screwed here, you guys? Who's getting screwed? The people. Man. Unbelievable. So are you saying because he got that bid for the folks at the fiscal court pays, for then it also made sense for them to come down here and do self-pay individuals, and that crowd you out? Help me understand how that transition happened. Okay, I lost the bid. I bid $10, which normally I charge $12 a day. Okay, I bid 10. He bid 8. Well, I charge the fiscal court the same amount that I charge an individual that is self-pay. I mean, I could have done that too. So he bid at 8. She just didn't think about it first. The fiscal court pays just for the ones that really cannot pay. And can get out on home incarceration. But the individuals who pay have to pay more. So how much money has our fiscal court been paying for people to be on house arrest? That's something I want to know. How much money has our fiscal court, and where on the budget does it have that? So where does that money, where do you put that on the budget, guys? Can I go look and see? Oh. And that was planned. It was. They wanted to get rid of her, it's what it looks like to me. And they were going to make sure that they found that they underbid her. Probably the miscellaneous line. Yeah, there's $2 million in a miscellaneous. Man. Looks like there's a scheme every which way you go. All right, the fiscal court pays just for the ones that really cannot pay. Well, how the hell do they know? Like, how do they know who can really not pay? And how long has this been going on? I sure ain't never heard of it. And I can guarantee you, if my ass was sitting in jail, they ain't going to pay for mine. So who are they paying for? Who was getting those kinds of services? And when the heck was that ever voted on to be put into place where they could even do that? Like, wouldn't that have to be voted on by the magistrates to agree to pay for people's? That's taxpayer money. How many of you guys in here in Letcher County want to be paying that? My Lord. I mean, it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse. But the individuals who pay have to pay more. I mean, where does that even make any sense? So back before Task and Brian Daniels started working in Letcher County, you also provided home incarceration services to persons whose bill was paid by the fiscal court. Correct. Oh, let's see if we got some good information coming. But just not pursuant to any kind of formal bid process or agreement? No. And I don't even know what that question even means. But just not pursuant to any kind formal bid process or agreement. I don't know. She says no. Okay. And then the fiscal court elected to bid that service out, and you got outbid. And by virtue of losing those ankle monitor clients, I will say, who are paid for by the fiscal court, you decided it wasn't worth working in Letcher County anymore? Help me understand the calculus there. I didn't bid enough. But that is just for the fiscal court folks, right? You could still provide ankle monitoring services for the private pay people. I could, but politics doesn't work that way over there. Uh-oh. Tell me how politics works over there. I don't want to get into it. Come on, Patty. Tell us. Well, I have asked you a question, and I want you to answer it, if you would. I'm not saying you are an expert on politics, but I want to understand what you are getting at there. Alana Hensley is working for him. She works at the jail. And when they went to the fiscal court meeting, they asked the jailer if he knew anything about this company. And he said, well, I have used them some in the past. This company being you guys? No, Task. Task, okay, so what does that mean? Can I ask you something? Mr. Jones, well, tell us to the extent you know what it means. And then we can take a break. What was your question? When you said the jailer said that he had worked some with Task in the past, I don't know what that means. Okay. I got word from, well, this is through the grapevine, okay? Alana Hensley would not come out at night to hook them up when she was working for me. She said, I won't come out. She wouldn't come out and work. So they called Pikeville, who was Brian Daniels. And he would go there and hook them up. And that is the reason that he said that he has worked with him in the past. Okay, so the jailer would call him over in Pike County because he would come out at night? Right. I may be about done, but I want to talk to my client and talk to my co-counsel here. Is it okay to take a break? Back on the record. So a couple of more little questions. You referenced some online training material provided to you from the ankle monitor equipment software company. What kind of stuff do they train you on? How to hook them up, how to put the information in, how to read the violations, how to go in and see if someone is traveling, how you can tell exactly where they are, how many miles, like I showed you before. Basically, the training was good, but I didn't need a lot of training. She didn't need a lot of training because she was such a great man. Arrogance, y'all. Arrogance, incompetence, and what else? Give me some more words. Come on, give me some more words because this is just getting freaking ridiculous. Hit that like button for me, y'all. 48 more to hit 300. Yes, please, please hit that like button. We're getting some of the nitty gritty now. Okay, basically the training was good, but I didn't need a lot of training because I had it. The only thing that I had to train was GPS part of it. I'd already done the home incarceration before, and so it was fairly easy, and it is not rocket science. Have you had any training on how to deal with detainees, people on home incarceration? No. Shocker. Any kind of ethical training on ethical issues related to home incarceration? Shocker. No. How many around here have? And if you have, and you expect a certain bar or standard, there's something wrong with you. You're the one that needs, you're the one that they snub. Come on. I don't care if you snub my mommy or not. You didn't like her in the first place. So you sure ain't gonna like her now that you stick your nose up in the air at her now? You ain't hurting our feelings none, honey. And you have never provided any of that training to any of the persons working on behalf of EKCS either, have you? No. I think that is all I have got. Pass the witness. Mr. Shaw, no questions. Mr. Kelly, no here. Mr. Jones, no questions. And that's the end of that. Oh, that's the end of Patty's. Okay. So let me stop sharing that. And I'm going to jump over here and see what all this is before I throw it up here. Okay, so we've got the exhibit 1. I'll put it back over. I just want to make sure that it doesn't have anything on here. Eastern Kentucky Correction Services. Okay. We'll put it back up here now. Okay. So this first one is the contract. So this is Exhibit 1, Eastern Kentucky Correction Services, Inc. contract. I, the undersigned defendant, have received a copy of the court order placing me on home incarceration for a special condition of bond. I wish to participate in the in-home detention program monitored by Eastern Kentucky Corrections Services, Inc. I agree to abide by the following rules and conditions set forth by EKCS. I agree to abide by any and all curfew restrictions and all limitations set forth by the court order. I agree to remain at my primary residence at all times unless pre-authorized by court order or in a case of medical emergency. In case of medical emergency, I must notify EKCS prior to leaving, if possible, or as soon as possible upon returning to my primary residence. I must also provide documentation from my healthcare provider stating the nature of the medical emergency and my arrival and departure times from the healthcare facility. I understand the duration of my home incarceration will be as the court orders. I understand that my curfew restrictions will be monitored 24 hours per day by EKCS. I understand that I'll be monitored by GPS. That is to be worn on my ankle, which I agree to wear at all times and to not tamper with in any way. I understand that tampering with the GPS ankle bracelet will result in a felony escape charge being filed against me. I understand that I will be held financially responsible for any damages to or loss of the monitoring equipment, which is valued at $850. Wow. Oh, thank you, Lisa. Thank you, honey. If anybody got a if any of you get a gifted membership, please tell Lisa thank you. She gives so many memberships. She and Miss Annette Holland. If you get one, tell her thank you. What do you guys think about all this? A Teague. Is there no major employers in that area besides government? Well, do you remember when I told you guys the story of the former jail employee who worked there a couple administrations ago? And those of you that didn't hear it, I'll tell it again. And so I guess he had just started working there as a guard at the jail, and he was supposed to take the girls to do their laundry. Well, the way that usually goes, they usually just have one female that will take all the laundry bags. There's, they don't let every one of them go. There's one girl, and she'll take everybody's laundry. Or at least that's the way it's been in most of the small facilities I've seen around here. The bigger facilities, you don't even have one inmate that does it. They'll come around and get everybody's laundry bag. The guards do. And then they'll have a worker in the laundry room that actually does the laundry, and it could be men, women, whatever. I don't know. But so this guy goes and gets the girl, whoever it was, and she grabbed all the females' bags, laundry bags, and they go up to the laundry. He said she did them all, open the laundry or open the washing machines and put everybody's laundry in and got it going. And he said then she walked over there to him and dropped her drawers down to her ankles and bent over. And he said, I was just like, what the hell are you doing? And he screamed at her and told her to pull her britches back up and all this. And of course he was flipping out. What are you doing? Why are you doing? What is wrong with you? And he said, she was like, what? What is wrong with you? This is the laundry detail. And he was like, not for me, it ain't. And he said, never again did he take a female to go do laundry. He said every time after that, he would take their laundry bags himself if he had to do that. If it was his job to do that night. He said, and I said, well, did you ever say anything to anybody? Didn't you tell somebody? He said, hell no, I didn't. I said, why? He didn't know who knew it, who was involved, and who wasn't. And he was afraid he'd lose his job. That's not the only job in Letcher County, though. I didn't think about it at the time. I was just so shocked at what he was telling me. And I think he worked there quite a while after that. But then, not too long ago, I was thinking about it. And I thought, they only paid minimum wage down there at the jail. I mean, you probably would have made more money if you worked at the gas station. So what would make somebody stay in a job like that where you didn't know who was doing what and just being in that environment where people were actually doing that kind of stuff? It's the I don't know if power is it, because you ain't really got too much, but I guess you've got some over the inmates. But you have to think about the people who knew what was going on, even if it was just knowing it from something like that. People knew. And I also wanted to say too, like the people who are talking, the people who are reaching out to me, like I don't never talk to the addicts, y'all. These are not the people that are coming to me and telling me their first-hand accounts. These aren't the addicts, the people in the drug court, the people in the jail. That's not who are reaching out to me. Most of the people that I've spoken to are former employees. It's family members and not of the victims. Family members of the people who are there. It's friends. It's employees and former employees. That's who's talking. It's the people that know what's been going on and didn't have nobody to tell. Who they gonna tell? Who's gonna care? Everybody got to go along to get along. I understand the duration of my home incarceration will be as the court orders. I understand that my curfew restrictions, $850. Okay. I understand the purpose of the GPS monitoring equipment is to alert EKCS if I should violate any court orders, ordered curfews, violations of home zones, or the receipt of any tampering signal. I further agree that a computer printout of any violations will be provided to the courts and may be used as evidence against me in a court of law. I understand that all equipment must be returned to EKCS no later than 24 hours after my court-ordered release. I understand that in order to defray the costs of the monitoring equipment and supervision, that I will be assessed a one-time hookup fee of $65 and a weekly fee of $85, paid in advance. All payments must be made in cash. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. There it is. Must be made in cash. So, let me see. Thank you, Miss Wanda. I wanted to look at my calculator. I don't know where my calculator is. There it is. All right. Let me do some math. So we got a one-time hookup fee of $65. So that means Ben got 25 for hookups. So Ben got 25 and she got 40 for the initial hookup. Then a weekly fee of $85 paid in advance. So $85. Well, let me do it this way. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21. So it's $21 a week is what Ben would get. And let me read that. Okay, 85 minus 21. So she would make $64 a week, where Ben would make 21. So Ben was pretty much making a third, I guess, of what Patty was making. Okay. I understand that while I'm under home incarceration, I'm prohibited from the consumption of any and all alcoholic beverages and the use of any illegal drugs or prescription medications not prescribed to me. I understand that I'm not to commit any crime, be arrested for any crime, or be convicted of any crime. Any such violation will result in my removal from the home incarceration program. I understand that my participation in this program is completely voluntary and that no one has coerced or threatened me in any fashion whatsoever to participate in this program. I agreed to release EKCS in the sentencing court and to hold those agencies harmless from any liability whatsoever arising from my use of the home incarceration equipment and system. This release and hold harmless is given by me without reservation or limitation of any kind. So we see that kind of thing on just about any kind of release. If you go skydiving, you got to sign a release saying that you don't hold them liable if anything should happen. Same thing here. If hooked up to a GPS unit, I understand that it is my responsibility to charge my unit for a minimum charge of 2 hours a day between the hours of 5 to 9 p.m. every day. I also understand that if I fail to do so, it may result in a violation of the home incarceration program and a felony escape. I understand that if I'm given any type of work release by order of the court, that is my responsibility to call 24 hours in advance and to give my work schedule, and the contact information of my employer is applicable. I also understand that a failure to do so may result in a violation of the home incarceration program and a felony escape charge. I understand that I must at all times have access to a phone of some type and to promptly answer if a rep of EKCS is to call. I understand that if any violation at all of the home incarceration program will result in my termination of the program, and if applicable, a felony escape charge. Well, we saw on one, I'd say just about everybody, they had a whole lot of violations. And it was apparently up to Patty and Ben who got in trouble and who didn't. Who they told the judge about and who they didn't. But it don't look like the judges did much caring. Man. Yeah, it's easier to skim cash. It's easier to hide it. It's easier not to report how much you make. Oh, yeah. I'm telling you. These MAP clinics, when they first put them in, they were a $1 billion business. I mean, you just think about it. If they had 1,000 clients, I don't know how many you'd see a day. That might be way too many. But, they had lines reaching around buildings. There was a lot of people that they would try, and they packed their schedules so full with so many people. It was unbelievable how many people they would see a day, really. And these doctors would stay there till late in the evenings because most of them were like emergency room doctors and stuff like that. Like they had regular jobs. They did this on the side for extra money, for good money. And if you just think, if they're charging $400 a head, which that's what they charged, all day long and twice on Sundays, $40. Do the math. What's a good number, y'all? How many you think they'd see a day? 150. I'll put 150. 150 patients per day times $400. That's $60,000 in one day. 60K. $60,000 a day. They had safes. Do y'all remember? Because I know I ain't the only one. They would have a safe. Oh, yeah, depends on how many providers that they have. Thank you, Kentucky girl, because that's right. When we went to this place down here in Pikeville back then, where the storage buildings, the storage sheds were, y'all remember that place back there behind the car lot in Pikeville? They had 4 or 5 doctors in there at a time. 4 or 5 different doctors in there. So if you saw, and you always saw your same doctor, like that would be your doctor, and he would be there on that day, right? So his patients would go in and see him. If they had another lady there or another guy, their patients would go in to see them. And then these ones' patients would go in to see them. See, these clinics, the way that they would do it, and this is what I mean. The legislatures didn't put any regulations in place for this stuff. All the regulations were on us. All of the limitations, all of the rules were on us. Like, they made sure that they milked every single patient for as much money as they possibly could. For the doctor visit, counseling, your medicine. I mean, it was a racket. And there's no way that they turned in all that money. Well, you saw Eugene Cisco was criminally charged and sentenced to prison. A lot of the clients that saw him were part of the class action lawsuit filed against him, and a lot of people got a little bit of money out of it. Right, Janet. So if Ben made $34,000, it's fair to say she probably made around 105, but that's just out of Letcher County. At one time, she had Letcher County, Pike County, Knott County, Leslie County, Harlan County, which Letcher County was her bread and butter. Letcher County was the, I don't know what you call it, the goodie bag. The goodie bag. I'm telling you. She must be living nice. Well, yeah, big money in addiction. It's a big industry. So why has this not been picked up by the feds? You tell me. You tell me. Letcher was the cash cow. That's it, Marnie. That's it, Sissy. Thank you. That's better than what I was trying to think of. It's a cash cow. And they were all going to get rich. ARC and all these other companies. Hill, Michael Clark, all of them. They's all going to get rich. Oh, yeah, we found one of our diggers found a lot of information. So went digging on some property, and we looked at what all Michael Clark, the preacher man, owns, what property comes back. And it looks like that it's all in his wife's name. And she had been married to somebody else prior. And I don't know the details on that, but somehow she ended up marrying the preacher. And their property was over 100,000, listed, valued at over 100,000 in Cumberland, in Harlan County, across the mountain. And they just kept bragging and bragging that Michael Clark got that good job over at ARC and was doing all this. And then they even, yeah, I know. They even, that he had a brick home, that he had went and bought a brick home, 3-bedroom brick home and all this paid for, just, it's just, I don't know. I mean, yay. I want us all to win, you all. I want us all to prosper. I want us all to make good money. I want us all to own a home. I want us all to have a vehicle that works. I want us all to be able to provide for our families. I want the best for all of us. I really do. But, this is white collar crime, what we're looking at here. And it's what I've been trying to talk about for a long time. Look at all the people that go to jail for these little petty rug crimes, and we're talking about years of people's lives. Like my girlfriend, she had a 2-year drug court program, and she said, I never had not one dirty urine. Not one. I read that wrong when I first looked at it. I thought she said she only had one. That ain't what she said. She said, I never had not one dirty urine. But yet they violated her and I don't know what kind of violation. I don't know what they did, but they started her over and over and over again. So she ended up with 4 years of drug court when it's only a 2-year program. How the hell do you do that? And how the hell do you get by with it? Because I know damn well she didn't commit no more crimes. That ain't fair. That ain't right. That ain't right. I don't care what anybody says. It ain't right. Let it be you. Let it be you that it's happening to. Let it be your child that this is happening to. People don't care until it affects them. Once they don't want to come to no protest, they don't want their voice, they don't want no attention on them. They don't want their friend to get mad at them. They don't want nobody knowing until their power bill is $1,500. And then where's the sign at? Where's the protest this week? My power bill was $1,500. Well, your 90-year-old neighbor ladies was like that last year. Have been that way for a long time. But you didn't care about them until your power bill was $1,500, and now all of a sudden you want everybody to listen to you. But you didn't give a damn when it was happening to somebody else. Because it didn't affect you. I mean, that's just kind of human nature, We don't understand, or we don't think about the little starving animals until somebody comes up and dumps it out in front of your driveway or on your porch. And then all of a sudden we care about it. Elizabeth, our town here in Oklahoma, ran the same kind of scam over and over. Yeah. And, the so-called good cops, the ones that everybody's The ones that people are friends with, and everybody thinks are just such good dudes and this and that. Well, they've been on that same department, force, whatever, with the bad ones for a long time. That they have seen the actions of these bad ones. If they're so pure and golden and they've never done it themselves, they've witnessed their coworkers doing something. But that blue line of silence, they're not going to tell on their buddy. That's their brother. That's their brother in blue. So how good does that make them? I mean, and they all think that they're above the law because they are the law. So they're above it. They can do as they please. All right, I'm going to stop sharing that again because some of this stuff, I don't want to scroll through it. I've not looked at this yet. And I don't want to scroll through it and pop up something that would get us in trouble. So these are just the offender application sheets, and it's just got their name, the judge, Mullins/Kraft, Letcher County, and then it's got the case numbers, risk level, circled high, offense, possession, first, math, failure to appear, contempt of court. So if they've got all these failure to appears, how does that even make them eligible for house arrest? First off, because I remember when I got in trouble back in the day, anytime I got in trouble, I wasn't eligible for, well, I'm not meaning me, but like I've seen others, and if they had any kind of bail jumping, anything like that, failure to appear, stuff like that, they weren't eligible for work release. And I have noticed that in Letcher County, they have, used to, everybody complained that they didn't have any female work release program. It was only the men that got to leave the facility and go out and work. Like, they work our work release program. Like, they really do a lot of work. Like, they cut the grass on the county property. I mean, they really work. I saw somebody say, oh, my friend got out of jail and they didn't even get their paycheck that they had worked for from work release. And I was like, huh? Ain't nobody here gets no check for what they do on work release. They don't get paid for that. But they tried to start a women's. And I was talking to somebody about it the other day, and they were like, well, they told us why they didn't do a female work release program. Said that they giggled when we asked them why. And the guy said, because men don't get pregnant on work release like the girls do. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and close this one down. We've been going for 1 to 2 hours now, and I got to go get Alan. He was supposed to stay the night with his little buddy. And I told him, I was like, please don't go. Please, come home. I don't like it when you're not home. Very rarely do that my kids ever stay anywhere. But I was like, please don't go. Please, come on. Just stay home. No. He wanted to go. He wanted to spend the night. He wanted to spend the night. I was like, okay. I said, but I guarantee you, you'll be calling before the night's over. Want me to come pick you up? I knew it. They think they want to go somewhere else, but when it comes time, you get tired and you want to lay down, you want to sleep in your own bed. All right, y'all. Well, we will see you tomorrow. We got ball games. We got ball games all day tomorrow, so we won't have our show until tomorrow evening. And I'll try to get it scheduled so you all see it, and then we'll have a time. But if not, just look for us. We'll be on tomorrow evening. All right, y'all. You have a good rest of your evening. Stay blessed. Stay warm. Let me go through these again real quick. Miss Tracy, I love you, honey. Thank you. Let's get this party started, Miss Janet. Thank you. RJG. Love you, honey. Thank you. Pippa Pearson. Love Miss Pippa. Thank you. Checkman. All right. Thank you, Checkman. Bugman. Thank you, Elizabeth in chat. Y'all make my evenings better. Absolutely. Rose Shields. Thank you for your super sticker. Jackie Moore. Bless you, honey. Bless you. Annette Holland. Allegedly Lisa. And Wanda Cassidy. All right, guys. Thank you. We'll see you tomorrow evening. Bye.
You can't hide from hillbilly crime.
You can't hide from hillbilly crime.
You can't hide from hillbilly crime.
You may not know that there's a crew in town. The head hillbillies are making their rounds. Small town whispers loud and clear. The sheriff shot the judge in his chambers chair.
Sheriff got a secret he won't keep. Judge shot dead in his disbelief. A lot of people have some stories to tell. Dark pass away, get the sound of a shotgun shell.
All the secrets spill on down. Voices loud in this old town. From the courthouse to the ground. Rumors fly and they can't be bound.
Neighbors hide behind their blinds. Whisper tales of troubled minds. Skeletons covering the mountainside. A treacherous reality in the pines.
Winter reveals the hidden lies. Moonlight couldn't mask the cries. Shadows caught in sunlit skies. There's no cover, no disguise. On